G'day there guys, it's Marky and welcome back to another episode of me reading Reddit stories. If you love today's content, I would love you to let me know what you think of it down below, subscribe if you would really like to, and if you've done all that, sit back, relax, chuck a prawn of the Barbie, and let's get right into it. Posted by user ThrowRaok Plankton, titled, Am I the asshole here for getting engaged to my ex-husband's new girlfriend's ex-husband? I, 49 female, and my ex-husband, 50 male, let's call him Kevin, got divorced, and the straw that broke the camel's back was when I came home with a present for him for our anniversary, and he accused me of getting it from whoever I was sleeping with, and then threw it away. He didn't even open the present, which was a Rolex watch that he had looked at multiple times and expressed that he liked. I talked to a divorce attorney after this, and we filed within a month, and he moved out. I told my attorney about this, and he wanted to know where he moved out, as Kevin wouldn't list his new address. It was revealed that he moved in with his new girlfriend, 50 female, let's call her Jenny. I actually knew Jenny, as our oldest kids have been in the same class since pre-K. I also knew Jenny and her husband, 52 male, let's call him Terry, just got divorced right before us too. It takes a little over a year to finalize the divorce since Kevin couldn't agree to any terms. A few weeks after the divorce, Kevin and Jenny went public with their relationship on a luxury beach trip. Terry sends me a friend request that I quickly accepted. I'll admit, at this moment I was being shallow because he's undeniably attractive. He's 6'3", tan from working outside on his farm, and fit. And he messaged me right after, just asking if I had seen the post and blah blah blah. The conversation quickly turns into making plans to get dinner and drinks one night. It was Kevin's first weekend with the kids, so Terry and I went out. It sounds sappy, but in that moment, I knew this could be something. It felt natural talking to him, and like I didn't have to walk on eggshells or tiptoe around things. He was the first person to actually look at me while I'm talking, and we agreed on almost everything. I invited him over after we left, and we had a few more drinks, and watched a sappy love movie, and had so much fun making fun of how unrealistic it was. We somehow finished a bottle and a half of wine, so I invited him to stay the night. He offered to sleep on the couch, but I told him he could sleep in the bed since I wasn't sleeping well, because I wasn't used to sleeping alone. The next morning, I made us breakfast, and we agreed that we should do this another time, and that it was great. As we were eating, Kevin texted me that he was down the road to drop the kids off. Terry then rushed to get dressed, and left. It felt terrible making him leave like that, and of course, the first thing Kevin asked was about if he saw Terry's truck coming down our road. I told him nope, and he dropped the kids off and left. That was 4 years ago. And shortly after that, Terry admitted to me that he wanted a relationship, and I said yes. We kept it private all this time, because it's really no one's business to know, as long as we were happy together. We just celebrated our 4th anniversary, and beginning in November, Terry started to hint that he wanted to propose, and wanted me to move to his farm in another town, since he lived an hour and a half away. Our anniversary was December 1st, and he planned a surprise dinner with all of our friends to propose to me. I couldn't believe that he really did all of this for me. All of our friends were incredibly supportive, and agreed that we seemed happy together and deserved to be happy with each other. The next day, I made a post that we were engaged. This was the first post about Terry and I on each other's page. Right after the posts, we started to get calls, texts, Facebook messages from Jenny's family, Kevin's family, and Jenny sent a long message to Terry saying that she couldn't believe that we would do this and didn't check with them first, and how insensitive it was to get engaged when we knew that her and Kevin were on a break because of the fighting. He ignored all of her messages until we both got messages from my family saying that we were shitty people for getting engaged in spite of Jenny and Kevin, and how they no longer wanted to see my kids and wouldn't be attending the wedding. Terry started to help me sell my house since he also works for a real estate company, and we packed all of my stuff up and sold all the furniture, and then he moved me into Terry's house. I left my job and was actually able to get a job at his company as a secretary. He has 2 sons who treat me very well. They don't call me their mum, and I don't expect them to either, but they do tell people that I'm their stepmom, and they surprised me with a basketball mum shirt with their names and numbers for Christmas. I couldn't stop crying after seeing it because it was so meaningful to me to see how they considered me their stepmom. Kevin had the kids for Christmas, and we were supposed to begin the normal split custody in January. Since the first of the year, the kids have said they don't want to see me, and Kevin said that he's talking with an attorney to change our custody schedule and that he wants full custody. I am finally happy with someone that loves me, planning a very small wedding with only friends and family that were supportive of our relationship, and have 2 new stepsons that love me. But I feel so empty without my kids. I took them to meet Terry, and he had been to dinner with us a couple of times, and he treated them like his own, and he never got onto them or was mean to them. I feel so conflicted about what to do. My kids won't even talk to me over the phone, and they refuse to see me. So, am I the asshole for getting engaged to Terry? Edits. My kids have always known Terry, and were introduced to him after a year and a half of us dating. They had no problem with us being together and knew about the engagement, as Terry took them to pick out the ring. It's not like he's a total stranger to them, as they've been around him multiple times and been to his house. I hope this can clear up some confusion, and I plan to elaborate more when I have an update. Mini updates. I was able to talk to my usual therapist about a session next week to help the kids talk and maybe help them understand the truth. It's next Friday when I would usually pick them up, so hopefully it goes well. Fingers crossed. In the comments, Koala Bear 20 says, "Not the asshole. Are your kids okay? What have you done wrong? Their dad is allowed to have a new relationship, but you aren't?" And OP says, "They're okay from what I've seen. Terry and Jenny's kids have tried to be friends with them, but they have said that my kids don't talk to them. I won't try to act like I've done nothing wrong, but I feel like when they started to ignore me, I started to go to Terry's kids' sporting events more. I would attend my kids' games, but they didn't even acknowledge me after or before. I felt useless going, so I didn't even attend the last game. But I still dropped off presents for Christmas, offered to take them to dinner for Christmas without Terry or his kids, and to just spend time with them. Not the asshole. How old are your kids? I wonder what their dad/your ex is putting into their heads. While he's going for custody, you may want to go after him for parental alienation. He sounds like a real winner." And OP says, 17, 15, and 10. Dee Dee says, "You've been dating for 4 years and your kids didn't know it? You got engaged without introducing the kids to the boyfriend?" And OP says, "They already knew Terry. He has kids the same age that played the same sports, and I did tell them that I was dating someone after a year and a half. I still wasn't sure how they would react, but they seemed fine with it, and I introduced them to Terry shortly after that. Since he didn't live close, he tried to come over on the weekend, but it would usually only be a couple of times a month. Like I said, they went to dinner with us and have been at the house with us together. They really didn't act like they cared, to be honest." Bookreader123 says, "I don't understand why they have a problem with it now and not before everyone knew about Terry. I also think that your ex is telling them lies and would go to a lawyer. What did the kids say about you moving? Do they live with their dad, or what's the deal? As you said, Terry lives 1.5 hours away. Where are his sons? Do they go to the same schools?" And OP replies, "I told the kids about moving, and they said they wouldn't be totally interested as they like their current school. They are currently with their dad. Terry was awarded full custody after Jenny received a DUI with one of their kids in their car during their custody hearing. Jenny lives in their old house that he gave her after the divorce, and now he lives in a ranch house that he built with the kids, and they attend a school there." Harry Potter Freak 23 says, "I don't know if anyone caught this, but within the first paragraph, the ex says OP was cheating. Then she doesn't say much of anything else. Granted, she doesn't have to say anything, but she doesn't deny or confirm. I'm also not saying the ex wasn't cheating, but why gloss over the fact that he told her she was cheating first?" And OP says, "I realized after that the first part of my post got deleted. I was promoted to director of my department and was working extra hours. It was during a busy season, so I was working even more, and he started to accuse me of cheating when I was gone longer than expected. I never did cheat. Yeah, what a messy situation this one is, but it's clear that this is just a case of parental alienation, and I'm sure when the kids grow up and can look back on this with clearer minds and a better understanding of the situation, they will completely shit on the dad, hopefully. The worst thing about these situations is being that kid that's young, has not got a fully formed brain, it is being spewed propaganda by both sides, and you don't really know what to think of it. I really hope that when OP's ex goes to court with her, he doesn't drag the kids into it, because that is the worst thing you can do. He should not be doing that. It's only going to further blow things up down the line. But yeah, I don't think you're the asshole here for getting engaged to your ex-husband. I think there's jealousy, anger, and resentment coming from the other parties that are trying to blow your life up, and F them for doing that to you. And now, on to the update. I'm not sure how much of an update this is, but here we go. To start, I'm sure him and Jenny had an affair when we were still married, and I really don't care to know. I don't let them waste any of my energy worrying about them or what they do or did. I probably could have worded the end of my post better. Terry isn't a stranger that I just pulled off the street and got engaged to. My kids have always known Terry, as his kids are the same age and played the same sports. I told them that I was dating someone after a year and a half, and introduced them to him shortly after. They've been to dinner with Terry and me, and have been with me when Terry came over, and been to Terry's house where he lives. He's a very busy and hard-working man, so we didn't get to spend very much time together where I live, or with my kids, so I would usually spend time at his house, but I never skipped time with my kids to see him. Terry is a farmer, land real estate agent, owns his own business, and a volunteer firefighter, so that's why I decided to move there instead of the other way around. He has roots in his area while I was free to move. I did tell my kids prior to the move and engagement that I would like to one day move there. They did tell me that they really wouldn't be interested in moving there, as they liked the school they attended and didn't want to switch. I was fine with that and told them that if I did, I would still like them to stay even if it's for a weekend or when they're on break. Terry also took all 3 of my boys and his 2 to pick out my ring, so it wasn't a shock to any of them. Terry asked all 3 of my kids individually if they were fine with it before he even proposed. I was also asked about if they could come to his house, and yes, they could. Terry has a very nice ranch house that he built with 5 full bedrooms and 3 empty finished rooms in the basement that could be bedrooms. They've already stayed there too before the engagement and had no problems. Terry also has a room that he calls his office that he offered to clear out to make room for an upstairs bedroom so one kid didn't have to sleep downstairs if all 5 were staying at his house, so they could have their own rooms and privacy. I didn't want to act like I was hiding my relationship with Terry, but we wanted to take things slow and not rush, hence why we didn't post to social media or tell our exes. Obviously, friends knew. You can only tell people you're friends for so long before they catch on. But we only told very, very close friends who won't gossip and tell everyone. And lastly, the last question was about my job. Yes, I went from a director of a department to a secretary making just under what I made as a director. You all would be very surprised what small-town local business secretaries make. I'm a secretary and accountant for the land real estate company, as well as Terry's business that he owns, and his farm. I go to work at 2:30 a.m. with him, and don't leave until he does at around 9 p.m., and still have farm chores after. So for everyone degrading my career, I work my ass off. Now on to the update. After that post and the advice, I called my lawyer, who agreed that he can't keep the kids from me and that he was definitely doing something to make them flip like that. He did say that we could go to court, but I told him that I wanted to try and resolve it without court first. I'm not ashamed of it, and I'll admit it. I see a therapist for my own health. I talked to her about getting a session with just my kids, and she agreed. I called Kevin after that to say that I wanted to have a talk with only the boys and he could drop them off, but he could not attend. The therapist was able to finally get them to open up. You Reddit detectives were correct. He turned the story to that Terry and I had an affair for years before we got divorced, and even tried to tell the youngest that Terry could be his dad because I was cheating then, which isn't true, as I never cheated on Kevin in our entire relationship. I was able to tell the kids the full truth, and I felt like a 50-pound weight was lifted off my chest. After, I had never been happier to hug all three of them. I made sure to express how much we missed them and are happy to have them home. And completely unexpected was all three gave Terry a hug next. Terry isn't one to cry about much, or cry very easily, but the second they hugged him, I saw his eyes water up, and I knew that I was making the right decision and picked someone who loves these boys as much as I do. They spent the weekend with us, and I was able to tell the older two the full story about Kevin and Jenny, how the marriage fell apart, and once again invited them to live with us. They both said they actually wanted to, but since Kevin had fed them lies, they didn't want to be around us. They get out of school in May and are planning to move in with us for the summer. This will hopefully be a good opportunity for them to bond with Terry's kids and their friends. I will not be pushing them to move here as it's their own choice, but deep down, I really do hope they do. I think going to a smaller school and living in a smaller town will be better for them than living in a city. I told my youngest a more watered-down version of events. I did make sure to tell him that Kevin is his real dad, and what he told him about Terry was not true. He seemed to understand it. So for the moment, Kevin is fine with the boys moving here for the summer. All three asked him instead of me, and I think that helped a lot. Showing him it was their decision instead of mine. To say I'm excited is an understatement. I'm over the moon with how much this is working out. I've talked with my lawyer, and he said the older two were able to decide where they go, while Kevin and I would have to come to an agreement for our youngest. I don't want full custody, as I think kids need their father in their lives, but my lawyer is urging me to fight for full custody. With travel sports starting up, Kevin and I were able to agree on a temporary agreement of me getting the kids on weekends that they have a game. I will pick them up on Fridays, go to the game on Saturday, and bring them home Sunday. We've been talking with lawyers about a permanent agreement. They were able to agree with the older two having a decision as long as they didn't miss anything required, such as school. Some things Kevin has told the kids is that Terry is still dependent on drugs. To make a long story short, about 2 years ago, Terry had been having neck problems and saw a chiropractor for the first time in his life. The chiropractor broke his neck in 4 places, C4 to C7, resulting in him needing 2 surgeries and becoming addicted to painkillers. He was on them for a year, and it took him another 6 months to get off. But he's been clean since of any prescription painkiller. Said that Terry and I wanted to take them away and never let them see their other family. Tried to accuse me of being addicted to drugs. I get even more sick and nauseous taking painkillers, so I refused to take any, even after a mastectomy and reconstruction surgery. And I also found out that Jenny was calling them my boys, and wanting them to take her last name. That is still Terry's because she refused to change it after the divorce. So there's still lots that we don't know, and hopefully will one day. In the comments, Leaks G says, "What your ex did was emotionally abusive to his youngest. He told him he might not be his dad. You should go for full custody rather than letting him poison your children. He was fine causing them distress to harm you. Stop thinking it's good for them to have a relationship with a father who would hurt them to hurt you. He isn't safe." Yeah, OP, listen to your lawyer. I'm happy to read this update. I'm so glad you were able to tell your kids the truth and the lies that their dad was telling them. The issue of him lying to them needs to be addressed, preferably in a text or something so you have proof. But this was a great update, and I'm happy that you're all well and that you are happy. Clearly, your ex and Jenny are just jealous that you are both happy together, and they are not. Don't let them ruin your happiness. Congrats, and best wishes to you all. This is a fabulous update. I suspect that your ex and his girlfriend are just upset that you're not both home, wallowing in your tears against your pillows. I'm glad that it worked out for you. Good luck for your futures. I wish you the best. You should absolutely go for full custody. You could allow relaxed visitation if you like, but get full custody so there is no convoluted decision-making about the kid's schooling, health, or anything else. I agree that it's important to the children to maintain contact with the dad, but in the end, you need to protect yourself and Terry against malicious actions, and the best way to do that is full custody. Good luck. I'm glad you found someone who loves you and respects you and your boys, not the asshole. Yeah, I do think that full custody is a good idea in this instance, but Reddit doesn't always hit the mark with giving advice. There can be some weird and wonderful things that they say, but in this instance, he's just going to continue poisoning your kids against you. To me, that's not going to work out well for him in the long run, and you can continue doing that if you want, but I think you protect your kids the most when you get full custody and you can decide when they see him because he's not being a good parent and there is no good faith here. Regardless, not the asshole. Our next post is by user ThrowRA37492928, titled, My 33 male, wife, 34 females, ex just died. He left a kid who isn't biologically either of ours. How do I talk to my wife about taking the kid in? So yeah, basically what it says on the tin. My wife, Kara, used to be married to a guy with which she has one kid. My stepdaughter, Charlotte, 9. I've always wanted to be a dad, but I'm unfortunately unable to have kids biologically, so I've been treating Charlotte like my own daughter and showering her with love. After Kara and her ex broke up, he had his son Levi, 5, with another woman. Levi is not an affair baby. Kara's ex didn't even start seeing Levi's mum until a year after he and Kara got divorced. Last week, Kara's ex passed away in a car wreck. From what I know, Levi's mum won't take him in, and Kara's ex has no close family who will take him in. Levi is currently staying in a foster home, and if no one steps up, Levi will become a ward of the state and enter our state's god-awful foster system permanently. The other thing is that Charlotte loves her little brother so much, and obviously she's devastated about her dad. I think that staying connected with her brother will help Charlotte through the grief, and that staying with his sister will help Levi. The thing is, Kara absolutely loathes her ex. Their split up was pretty much on the worst of terms, and their divorce was the messiest that I've ever heard of. She once told me that if it wasn't for Charlotte, she would have moved across the country and never thought about him again. I'm worried that she won't want to take in Levi because of his connections to her ex. I don't know how to talk to Kara about potentially stepping up to take Levi in, or if she might be gravely insulted if I brought this up. I know that Levi is not technically mine or Kara's problem, but he's an innocent child and Charlotte's little brother, and I would feel guilty if I didn't even try to take him in. Edit, since a lot of people have been asking, the reason that Levi's mum can't and won't take him in is because she lost custody a while ago and has no interest in fighting to get it back. I don't know why she lost custody, but I believe that she's on the sex offender registry for something quite serious. In the comments, Fox112 says, well, dude, she is your wife. We're just random strangers on the internet, and this is a seriously large decision. I would recommend just talking to her about it and seeing how she feels. Are you even able to take the child? And OP replies, well, I've never been in my wife's position, and I was thinking maybe someone with more experience could give me advice. I love my wife, but she can be a bit, let's say, volatile when it comes to anything involving her ex. And yes, we are able to take the kid in, well, financially at least. Info needed. Did Kara have much contact with Levi prior to the accident? If she did, that might make it a little bit easier. But you also do need to go with that it's Charlotte's brother. Just think how you will put this, and start by admitting to her that she may or may not like the idea. But there is the possibility that she's trying to figure out how to bring it up to you. So think of it as making it easier to say what she wants. I think you're going to do okay. And OP says, no, she purposely didn't form a relationship with him so she'd have less attachments to her ex. I actually saw the kid more often than my wife because I handled most of the childcare stuff with my stepdaughter, which included pick-up and drop-off from visits with her dad. I'm curious what your relationship was like with your wife's ex. It seems like you and him had a better relationship than your wife and him. I'm not saying you guys were buddy-buddy. OP says, he and I were cordial, but if I'm being frank, he was a massive douchebag. My wife and I would rock, paper, scissors sometime to see who would have to deal with him. Do you think your wife will be able to be a loving parent to Levi, the same way that she is with Charlotte? Physically taking him in is only the beginning of the journey. And OP says, knowing my wife, yes, I think she would. She may hate the idea, or she may not, but I don't think she's physically capable of hating a little kid once she gets to know him. That's why she avoided forming a relationship with her ex's kid, I think. She didn't want to get too attached to someone adjacent to her ex, but that's just my speculation, of course. What did the ex do for Kara to divorce him? Damn, man. Answer. OP says, the better question is, what didn't he do? And is a man not allowed to sleep? He cheated, lied, gaslit her, they had screaming matches, and during the divorce, he tried to keep my stepdaughter away from her. He made things up about her in court to try to serve this end. The only thing he never did was hit her. I would approach her from the standpoint of Charlotte not losing both a dad and brother. She just lost her dad, now she might lose her brother too? Heartbreaking. But OP, please note, this does not mean guilt-tripping her into it. It's still a decision that needs to be a firm yes from both of you. Bringing the kid into a home where one parent resents his presence will not be helpful either. Point out how much it means and the positive impacts, but also prepare yourself to give her time to think and be ready to hear no as a response and think about what that means for you. This is good advice. I wonder if also it would be possible to offer to foster him with his sister while a more permanent solution is being figured out. I don't know if this will just muddy things further. I don't know if they know the kid at all. He might be a complete menace and a detriment to the family. It could work out swimmingly, but it's sort of hard to know how things will fit if they don't know the child at all. Don't ask if she wants to take her ex's kid in. Ask if she wants to take her child's brother. No matter how much she hates her ex, her child is half him. I love Charlotte, she is my daughter, she is half you and your ex. I cannot in good conscience know that her sibling is out there most probably living a horrible life. I would like to discuss increasing our family. And that you both need to think about Charlotte and the impact of losing her brother to the system. And now, on to the update. So after reading through as many comments as I could, I was even more nervous than ever about talking to my wife. I was also even more convinced that this was a conversation I needed to have sooner rather than later. I also tried to get more information about Levi's situation and why no one could take him from my wife, and according to Kara, Levi's mum emigrated from another country and doesn't have any family here. One of her ex's parents is in aged care and the other is unwilling for some reason. As for the rest of his extended family, I don't know, and neither does she. But she did say that he's no contact with most of his family and has been disowned by a fair number of them. Someone may reach out in the future, but it does seem unlikely. Last night, Charlotte was over at her friend's house for a sleepover, so Kara and I had dinner alone together. I started by bringing up how lonely I thought Charlotte was and how glad I was that she was feeling well enough to go over to her friend's house. Kara agreed, and I basically got straight to the point by saying how I thought that she'd feel better if she could spend time with her brother, and asked if she might consider taking on Levi as a kinship foster. Kara looked thoughtful for a minute, before tentatively agreeing. We're going to be taking steps to see about taking him in, and at the very least, setting up visits so that the siblings can see each other. This is a huge weight off of my shoulders, knowing that she doesn't resent a little kid for her relationship with his father, and that she was able to have a rational conversation regarding a topic related to her ex. The last time we had a conversation about him, I had accidentally used a phrase that her ex used a lot during their fights, and she got triggered by it. She ended up storming out and staying at a hotel for the night so that she could calm down. She is a lovely woman. I know it might not seem like that from my posts, but she really is. She had a really toxic and borderline abusive relationship, which almost resulted in her losing access to her daughter. So I hope that y'all don't think of her as a monster, but as a loving wife and mother with some trauma that she's trying her damnedest to work through with the support of her therapist and myself. In the comments, Cooler Than Unicorn says, "I'm so happy about this outcome. Your wife seems like a lovely woman." And OP says, "I know, right? I'm so thrilled, my jaw hurts from smiling so much." I'm glad Reddit didn't talk you out of this. There were so many negative and pessimistic comments that I was worried that you were going to abandon the idea. And OP says, "No one short of my wife herself would convince me not to. He's an innocent child who needs someone to love him. If anything, Reddit made me more determined to try. If I chickened out and never brought it up, everyone calling me a saint, completely undeserved, but that's besides the point, would be disappointed in me along with myself. I'm glad you were able to ask her and that you both were able to communicate about this issue. That's part of marriage. It's not all butterflies and rainbows. Sometimes we have to talk about the hard and difficult stuff. I hope this works out for all of you. Best of luck." Exactly. Good luck with this difficult issue. You are a great dad. I mean, it's going to be pretty much butterfly and rainbows for Levi compared to what might have awaited him in the foster system. Hey, sorry to nitpick, but this might help you in the future. She didn't have a borderline abusive relationship, she had an abusive relationship. There is no borderline with abuse. I just don't want you saying borderline to her in reference to it is all. With that said, I'm really glad that you were both able to have a productive and positive conversation about this. Both your daughter and Levi will be better together. No, you didn't paint your wife in any way. She had a bad previous relationship, and you were nervous about broaching a difficult subject. I'm really happy that she's open to the idea and that there is a path forward as a family. I agree with everyone saying family counseling. Levi lost a parent and living with new people. Charlotte is gaining a sibling living in her house. Kara may have complex feelings about taking on Levi, and you have to be the rock in that situation. That's a lot for everyone to handle, but we're rooting for you. Best of luck to your expanding family. Charlotte will love OP for this, not just now, but as an adult. She'll see the effort that OP and her mum made to keep the sibling relationship intact. This was a really difficult situation, but the outcome is lovely. OP's wife is damn strong, and OP is an amazing human being. Both kids are in good hands. And you know what? I have to agree. I think that this is the best situation that could have come out of this. I personally refrained from giving my take on the initial story for this one because I've not lived this. I don't know what to say about it, and I feel like the wide array of comments had more than enough advice that could help you out if you're in a situation like this. I'm glad that foster systems do exist, and some of them are good, but more often than not, from what I've heard, you want to keep those kids away from those foster systems and foster houses because it's just a terrible time, more often than not. So I'm glad that the siblings are together, we are not breaking a family up, and that Levi is not being put on a family that does not want him. Don't know what the hell's going on with everyone else that should be taking him in, but best that he stays away because what is going on with those people? Anyway guys, that's where I'm going to end today's episode. I do hope you enjoyed. If you did, let me know what you thought about it in the comments down below, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.